Section 4, Chapter 10, I Live by Faith. Serving at the Lake Sammamish camp that week, I felt a surge of excitement. Here I was, fully severed from my former job at the tire company, going all out for the Lord. I was now actually getting on the firing line for Jesus. The first day of full-time service was quite a thrill for me, and I have never regretted it or lost the joy of trusting Him for my livelihood. The Lord blessed the Boys and Girls Camp in a marvelous way, and as far as I could ascertain, all the boys and girls at this camp accepted Christ. The satisfaction in my heart was overflowing. I came back on Saturday evening to check in at home, only to find out that, financially, we were in bad shape. We had no savings account of any kind, and the following Monday, our $50 house payment was due. Viv and I prayed, explained to the Lord our desperate situation, and told Him that if He did not undertake, we would not have the money to meet the house payment. All we could do was leave this problem in His hands. The following morning, I drove back for the final day of camp. Each Sunday afternoon there was a special service with emphasis on missionary giving. A missionary, usually one on furlough in a foreign country, was chosen for the week, and the offering was then given to this missionary. As the meeting progressed, I was overjoyed to hear the boys and girls tell about the powerful things the Lord had done in their hearts. Some had found the Lord during the week, and others had dedicated their lives to full-time service. Now came the climax of the meeting, the big moment when they announced the missionary of the week. This choice was always kept a secret by the directors, Dr. and Mrs. Annis Jepson, until this big moment. One of the biggest thrills of my life was to hear them announce that the missionary of the week was, guess who? Mike Martin. What a marvelous way God had chosen to show me I was in His perfect will. As I went forward to receive the gift of the missionary offering, all I could think of was the chorus, "Praise ye the Lord." With tears of emotion and joy coursing down my cheeks, I just stood there, smiling through my tears. Finally, I choked out, "Can we sing Praise Ye the Lord?" As we sang that chorus, my heart went up in thanks to the Lord. I received $252.57, today's value approximately $4,200. And as my wife and I checked back on what I would have earned during the time I was at camp, we found that the Lord took care of us even better than if I had stayed on the job at the tire company. With this money, we were able to make our house payment, put in a supply of groceries, purchase other necessary items, and even have a little left over. We had another real surprise after I returned home from my first week of service. Our youngest boy, Michael, was just getting ready for bed when he began to cry as though his heart would break. I went to him and asked, "What's wrong, Michael? Did you hurt yourself?" He began to sob. "I want to get saved. I want to get saved." I am so glad the Lord said, "Suffer the little children to come unto me." What a gift it is to lead your own boy to the Lord. I put my arm around him and said, "Come upstairs, and Daddy will pray with you." We talked together first about what it meant to be saved. And when I asked him what had happened, he said, "As I was thinking of going up to bed, I looked on the table and saw the salt and pepper shakers. And it seemed that when I looked at the pepper shaker, I saw the devil in the shaker. And he said, 'Come on, Michael, come to me. I want you.' I got scared, and I looked at the salt shaker, and I saw Jesus in it. And he said, 'Michael, come to me. I want you.' Again, Michael began to sob. 'I want Jesus. I want to get saved.' What a privilege it was to kneel alongside my boy and hear him cry out to Jesus to save him. Even though Michael was only 7 at the time, the Lord truly came into his heart. Michael, as a young man, dedicated his life to the Lord and is now preparing for Christian service. Truly, God can speak in strange and miraculous ways to reach the lost. The work of King's Teens was not yet developed to the point where I could devote my full time to it. As I considered and prayed about these sections of free time, I sensed the Lord was leading me to sell Bibles and Christian merchandise during the daytime and work in King's Teens at night. I talked with a man who was in the colportage business, and he helped me get started with a small business selling beautiful Bibles. I was still a little fearful of trusting the Lord completely regarding our finances. I'm so thankful God is patient with us and blesses even our "O ye of little faith" seasons. This endeavor of going door to door gave me a good opportunity to talk with people about their souls at the same time I was demonstrating the Bibles. Each day, I asked the Lord for specific marching orders for where to go and what time to sell, and God blessed in a real way. For almost 2 years that I sold Bibles, I believe I only missed 2 or 3 sales. Every place I demonstrated a Bible, I made a sale. I am not that good a salesman, but the Lord guided me, and I obeyed His orders. A few times I never even demonstrated the Bible, but made the sales while standing on the front porches. As I look in my diary, which I kept during this season, I find this notation. The Lord allowed me to sell 3 Bibles today, 2 in homes where they had no Bible. These people also allowed me to pray for them. I was able to place many Bibles in homes that did not have one. Truly, it was the Lord who made the sales, while I took the orders and collected the commission, which was at times from $5 to $7.50 in a day. One day, Viv and I had a special, urgent need for money. The house payment was due, and we had some other pressing needs. After prayer, the Lord led me to demonstrate Bibles at a nearby Bible school. I knew the Lord was selling for me again, as I wrote orders as fast as I could. In approximately 1 hour, I made $137 in commissions. Today's value, approximately $2,250. Sometimes as I prayed for guidance, the Lord would say, "Do not go out to sell today, but work all day in King's Teens." Other days, He would tell me to sell. Many times I would pray thus, "Lord, today I'm very busy with King's Teens work, and I only have half an hour to spend in selling. Where shall I go?" Then I would go and obey the thought He put in my mind. Most of the time, I would knock at the door, not knowing who the people were, demonstrate the Bible, make a sale, and be back home in half an hour. The very few times I failed, I had gone out in my own strength, not taking time to pray and ask for His directions. During these Bible-selling days, I was able to pray with many people and lead some to know the Lord. It was a blessed ministry, but I knew that someday the Lord would have me in King's Teens full-time. Finally came the day when I was so busy there wasn't time to sell Bibles. This was what the Lord was waiting for. He was gently forcing me to trust Him further in this life of living by faith. I put my demonstration Bible on the shelf, trusting God's promise that He would take care of all our needs. 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 14. Even so hath the Lord ordained that they which preach the gospel should live the gospel. This was a big step for us. We now had no tangible means of support. The crutch of selling Bibles was gone, and with trembling hearts, we were launching out farther from the shore and saying, "Lord, here we are." We considered it a great privilege to live by faith, although I must stress that this was not our choice, but rather the Lord's. If we had not left our jobs and started to live by faith, we would have been disobedient to Him. I do not believe that just anyone on a whim can decide to live by faith and have the Lord supply his needs. I remember once a pastor friend of mine came to see me and said he had decided that he was going to tell his church that he did not want them to pay him a salary anymore, as he thought it would be an exciting quest to live by faith. I warned him, "Brother, be careful, and be sure that this is what the Lord wants you to do. Living by faith is not your choice, but rather God's. If God has chosen your church to pay your salary, you are going to find it pretty rugged trying to live by faith out of the will of the Lord." I wish that everyone could have the experience of living by faith for a period of time. Viv and I have found that the first requirement is a clean heart toward God and our fellow man. The Bible says in Psalm 66, verse 18, "If I regard iniquity in my heart, the Lord will not hear me." My wife and I know that this verse is literally true. I discovered that I couldn't even have a good fight with my wife. We called Monday our business meeting day with the Lord, and on this day we would present all our financial needs to Him. Most of us are prone to pray only for those things which we ourselves cannot solve. Right at the start, the Lord began to teach us that nothing is too large or too small to bring to Him in prayer. We seek His guidance in shopping and buying groceries or clothing, and He guides us to the right store and in every appointment. Before praying, Viv and I would claim Matthew chapter 18, verse 19. Again I say unto you, that if two of you shall agree on earth as touching anything that they shall ask, it shall be done for them of my Father which is in heaven. We then would write down all the needs coming up that week and present them audibly in prayer to the Lord. Our house payment was due on the 15th, and near that time we would tell him about that. And also about other needs such as money for groceries, new shoes for Michael, $6 for gas and oil, etc. We would add up the total, plus our tithe, and present that amount to the Lord for the week. After requesting this money from him, Viv and I would then thank the Lord for the money, even before we had received it, as we prayed according to his instructions and believed 1 John chapter 5, verse 14 and 15. And this is the confidence that we have in him, that if we ask anything according to his will, he heareth us. And if we know that he hears us, whatsoever we ask, we know that we have the petitions that we desired of him. Each week was a riveting experience to watch the Lord answer these prayers. We never knew whom he would use, but invariably, if we expected money from some certain individual, he would not use that person. The Lord insisted that we look not at individuals for our needs, but to him. Occasionally, the devil would trap Viv or me on something. And as soon as this happened, it was like turning off the water. Our needs were not met. Perhaps it would be that I became irritated at Vivian for something and even forgot about it. As we would see the food leaving our pantry shelf and no money or food coming in to replace it, Viv and I would begin to seek the Lord to find out where the trouble was. As we prayed and tried to explain our need for food, the Lord would remind us that it was not his fault, but ours. We then would begin to search our hearts individually and ask him to reveal the sin. Soon, the Lord would reveal my irritation of my wife because she did not remember to tell me until it was too late that I had a phone call from a pastor asking me to speak, or even such little things as having her wake me up too late or not iron my shirts properly. One time we went out to speak at a conference, and in the morning when I prepared myself for the day, I found Viv had not remembered to pack my fast teeth, a preparation to keep my false teeth in place. I could visualize my teeth jumping around in my mouth as I tried to speak. This time, I really was irritated at her. Then, the Lord reminded me that my heart was in no condition to speak or help anyone until I apologized to my wife and got things right. This I did, and then God blessed. Several times on other occasions, even as we asked the Lord to forgive us and asked one another for forgiveness, while we were still on our knees, people knocked on our door with either food or money. The blessing would come immediately. We discovered that it was not hard to get in accord with one another when we would get hungry, for we knew that if we did not ask for forgiveness, we would not eat.